Greetings, welcome back to Minecraft. Okay, this episode's gonna be a little bit different. You see, for the last 3 episodes, I have been developing a very advanced piece of Minecraft technology, the Cube Loader Machine, named because its purpose is to efficiently load cubes into my inventory with as little cognitive effort as possible. The idea to create this machine came to me when I realized I was spending an enormous amount of time simply searching through shulker boxes and chests for items whenever I was working on a large project, and because so many of my builds are thousands of blocks away from my main base, I couldn't just go back and forth to get more stuff, so I needed a mini, easy to set up, temporary base where I could keep things organized, minimizing the time I spent searching for the blocks I need so I could maximize the time I spend actually building cool shit. And so, the CLM was born. So far, there have been 3 iterations of the device, but after last episode where I constructed the ultimate resin factory, I realized I needed to dedicate some time to perfecting the concept. So in today's episode, I will make some much needed improvements to the world, perfect the CLM design, and then build a massive structure as fast as I can to show off just how powerful this little device can be. Okay, let's go. Okay, first things first, I want to build a stage that I can build the CLM on top of that will act as a sort of permanent display for the machine. And then next to it, I want to build a big hallway where I can store a bunch of pre-made shulker box kits containing all the materials for the machine. So whenever I need to set one up, I can just grab one of those kits and go. And I want to build it in this area around my main base because currently I am in phase 1 of the ultimate plan that I set up for the world a couple episodes ago, starting with Project Upgrade, of course, last episode, which isn't completed yet, by the way. I have a whole bunch more that I'm adding over by that factory. But another one of the projects in this first phase is Project Township, which I'm changing the name of to Project Romulus because it sounds cooler, and it'll be about transforming this entire area around my main base into a massive city, and the buildings will kind of take on an ancient Roman-like theme. So Romulus, Rome, you get the idea. Anyway, so I want to set up the staging area for the CLM around here to kind of help add to the overall building density of that city whenever I get to that specific project. And I think right here is going to be a perfect spot. Let me grab some beacons so we can do some terraforming. I'll set it up right here. And now I just need to flatten out this entire area. Okay, I think this should be enough space for the main staging area, and then the storage building will be right over here. But it doesn't really look quite right yet. As I build up the city, I want there to be like a clear distinction between where the structure of the city ends and the natural world terrain generation begins. So I want to build like support walls going into the ground, similar to like the little ones over here, but I want to change them so they're all just like straight lines. They can be on different angles. They don't really all have to be 90-degree corners, but I don't want to have like these weird curves like I kind of have going on here. Looks a little messy. So I'll start with just carving away the terrain and shaping the walls with some stone, and then I'll decorate it once I'm happy with the shape. Okay, this looks good, and these straight lines are definitely way cleaner than the other walls. Now to decorate it. I want to go with just a simple andesite and stone gradient, and I think I'll line the top ridge with some sea lanterns. One slight issue though, and that is that I still don't have any andesite at all. I got a bunch for the factory last episode, but I pretty much used it all. I would go to the mega base site to knock down a mountain to get more, but above sea level, there's pretty much no andesite that spawns, and I only want to dig down to sea level in that area because I need to flatten out that entire area. So instead of mining there, I decided to go look for a windswept hills biome because I had a vague memory that andesite spawned in abundance on the surface there. So I found one a couple thousand blocks west on my map and headed over. Along the way, I stumbled across this really cool mountain range that I had to stop and check out really quick. Wait, this place is sick. Hold on, little detour here. This is a very interesting formation. Maybe I'll build something here in the future. I gotta remember this place. Look at all this too. Bro, imagine like a sprawling... Okay, crazy idea. One of my future factories spread out like part of the factory here, part of it here, part of it over here. Might be kind of laggy if there's a bunch of items moving around, but imagine it's all like spread out amongst these hills. Oh, that'd be really cool. We'll see. I'll have to think about it. I gotta remember this area though. After that little detour, I made it to the windswept hills and ended up finding an insane amount of nothing. There is nothing here. I completely misremembered there being a ton of andesite in this biome. So I flew all the way back home and ended up just mining the andesite out of a cave like a normal person. I did come up with a good strategy to get a ton of it though. Not only could I find exposed pockets of the stuff in caves, but I could also collect all the diorite and combine it with cobblestone, which I have a ton of thanks to my cobblestone farm, and essentially just get double the amount I would have otherwise, since 1 diorite and 1 cobblestone makes 2 andesite. So I got more than enough blocks, went back to base, grabbed a few other items from storage, and got to work building up the walls. I went ahead and hydrated a happy gas too to make the process go a bit more smoothly, and things were going pretty well until I ran into yet another very annoying issue. This fucking guy. I pretty much couldn't build at night at all without a skeleton trying to kill my ghast as I worked. And yeah, I know I could just throw down a bunch of torches and call it a day, but I will not risk this ghast dying from a skeleton spawning in an area that I missed with the torches, because I am not waiting another 30 minutes for a new one to grow up. So I'm gonna build something I honestly should have built a pretty long time ago at this point, a mob switch. Now to build a mob switch, I can use the world's spawn chunks, which are always permanently loaded. So by building a device that moves mobs into the chunks and then out of them again, I can fill up the game's mob cap to stop any new mobs from spawning. Mojang is planning on removing the spawn chunks pretty soon here, but I think I can just build a chunk loader in its place whenever that happens. Now I know if I trade with a villager and then turn him into a zombie, that'll count towards the cap, but a shulker will also count towards the cap too. And shulkers can't burn in the sun, and it also just like looks cooler to have like a bunch of shulkers set up. So I'm gonna use those. They're also pretty easy to get for me since I can just pull them from the nether side of my shulker farm. So let's do that. I'll grab some redstone and build a simple device that just activates and deactivates powered rails to flip a minecart back and forth. I'll clear out some space here, and I'll build only the bottom layer first so I can load the shulkers in. Okay, that looks good. I'll grab some obsidian and build a portal here to connect to the nether roof. Okay, nice. Now to get the shulkers down, I can build a little drop-off point here for a minecart, and the shulkers will teleport to this platform here once they come through the portal, and then I can just place down a minecart to scoop them up. So I'll connect the rails down here all the way back to the portal, and I'll set up a connection in the overworld to easily be able to slot each shulker into its new little prison cell. With that set up, I got to work moving them over. Moving each shulker was kind of a tricky process to get used to, but I ended up finding a pretty good system to transport them without constantly getting swarmed by their projectiles. First, I'd move them into a temporary holding cell next to the portal, and then I would send them in one by one into the overworld to be slotted into the switch. So after just a few slightly tedious hours of bringing 70 shulkers into the overworld, the mob switch was ready to go. Okay, to turn it on, just gotta make sure the shulkers are inside the spawn chunks, okay? And then thanks to Carpet Mod, I can type in this command, and this will show me how many mobs are currently loaded in, and if everything works, it should always read 70 there. Now we wait until nighttime, and the switch should work. Let's fly around and see if any mobs are spawning. And... bro, what the fuck? It's not working at all. Bro, come on. Turns out, mobs in minecarts or boats or anything like that don't count towards the mob cap. I also built the mob switch in kind of an awkward area relative to the surrounding chunk borders, which means chunk loading it once the spawn chunks are gone is going to be really weird to set up. So to solve these issues, I spent an extra 4 hours moving all 70 shulkers into new cells in a single chunk. I dropped them out of their minecart so they would actually count towards the cap, and now with just a single ender pearl stasis chamber, I can chunk load the switch at will. This is a way more simple design that I should have just gone with from the beginning. Anyway, with the actual functional mob switch built, I switched it on with an ender pearl and finally got it to work. Bro, okay, what the actual fuck? Why is there one single zombie? Oh, because I missed one of the minecarts that a shulker was in. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, now it works. Yay, finally, dude. Jesus. With the functional mob switch done, I could finally finish up the walls in peace with no skeletons in sight to harass me while I worked. Oh, okay, done, finally. And they look even better than I expected. This is obviously just a small area and I don't have any buildings here or anything yet, so it looks a little bit barren, but this entire city is gonna be crazy when I'm done with it, okay? All right, now let's build up a platform here, and this is what we'll build the CLM on top of, and now I can finally get to work perfecting this device. Now, the fundamental idea here, of course, is to make a machine that functions as close to the creative menu as possible. So first off, that means being able to navigate everything super quickly. So I'll start with a layer of soul sand that I can quickly walk on with my Soul Speed 3 boots. And then on top of this, I'm gonna add a beacon later, which will let me move even faster with the speed effect. Okay, that's good. Now for the actual storage, there's usually 3 size categories that all of my items fall into for every project. Blocks that I have 1 shulker box or more of, blocks that I have about 1 shulker box to 9 stacks of, and then blocks that I have like 9 stacks of or less, going all the way down to sometimes just having a couple of 1 block or item. So for those first 2 categories, I'll set up some barrels for the 1 shulker box amount of items or less, because I could just fit all of those into a single barrel. And then for the things that I have 1 shulker box or more of course, I'll just use these same shulker box unloaders that I've been using this whole time in previous CLMs. And then I'll throw item frames on everything so I can easily label what's inside each box. Okay, there we go. Now, for the items that I only have have one or two of, or just a few stacks of for each build, I'll set up a series of chests that all belong to a different block category. This way I can store all these different types of blocks and items together without running out of barrel space. Because like, imagine if I had a build that had like, I don't know, one flower pot or a chest boat or like 2 stacks of repeaters or something like that, right? I don't want to dedicate an entire barrel to a single item like that. So the categories I'm setting up are slabs, stairs, walls and fences, lights, doors and trapdoors, glass, organics, redstone, wood, blocks that can be dyed any of the 16 colors, unprocessed blocks like cobblestone, andesite, ore blocks, etc., processed blocks like stone bricks, polished andesite, or iron blocks, and then unstackable items, and then just miscellaneous items like decoration blocks like pots or chains or leaf litter, stuff like that. Now, I chose these categories because they work for me, kind of just makes sense in my head, like all these categories. But if you end up building this machine, just choose whatever categories you want. I mean, this entire concept is really just built for me to suit my personal build style. So if you want to use something like this for your projects, I encourage you to add or remove or change whatever you want based on how you play. Anyway, that's all the items organized, but we're not done yet. Next, I'll throw in some workstations that I may or may not need during the build: crafting table, furnace, anvil, ender chest, stone cutter. Now here, I also want to try and hide an infinite water source and a chest to store water buckets somewhere. I think here's a good spot. And then underneath, I'll hide the source so that I can still reach it through the gaps in the side of the chest. And I'll also throw in a trash can too, with just a simple auto dropper redstone circuit that will burn anything that I throw into this barrel here. Then I went ahead and I built a Happy Gas docking station too, but I accidentally didn't record this because I'm dumb. So here it is all set up. And then finally, I'll place some beds down so I can set a spawn point in case I need to go to the end and come back or something. And I think that covers everything I can think of. There's just one more problem I need to solve though. Can you guess? Yeah, it's this thing looks ugly as f, and I do not build ugly things. I don't care if it's gonna add like 2 minutes to the build time. I will not use an ugly machine. So I covered everything with this simple, sleek, modern white concrete case and some sea lanterns to light it up. And oh yeah, this looks way cooler. Very industrial, very modern, perfecto. One more thing though that I went ahead and added is this little underside area where I can put some chests to store chest boats and a chest donkey if I ever need it. This way, if I'm working on like a super massive build, I'm talking like a million blocks plus, then I can use this to move all the items I want using chest boats and the ghast. Okay, now that it's built, I need to collect all the materials for the decorative build before we can test it out. Starting with a ton of red stained glass that I need to first smelt up at the array and then craft with red dye. I'll craft some of it into red glass panes too. Then I need to go mine more andesite because I don't want to pull from my wall building materials. Then I need a ton of polished deep slate, some glowstone, coal blocks, cracked deep slate bricks, chains, blackstone, polished deep slate walls, and just a bunch more standard building materials. Okay, we've got it all littered in. I'll set up my shulker boxes here and we should be ready to go. Okay, now the goal here is just to build the decor as fast as I possibly can. It doesn't really matter how long it actually takes. What's important is how quickly and easily I can restock my inventory whenever I run out of items. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. To start, I'll build a glowing base around the stage and fill in the center with red glass to make that classic void floor effect. For the purpose of world building, I want every building or structure that serves as a piece of infrastructure to have kind of this grayscale and red or orange color palette. And then these types of buildings will belong to like the Wilds Empire as represented by the banner I made in the Ultimate Plan video. And these types of buildings will be present in every settlement or base or factory or whatever that I have spread across the world. So even though most of my builds will be very different from one another, encompassing like a really wide range of themes, there will always be that element of the Empire baked into each one. And the color palette just looks really cool. But after I finished the base, I went ahead and set up some pillars to wrap around it and then connected them at the top with this ornate design. Once I was done with the main stage, which looks awesome, I started on the storage hall, which I themed after the building that's over my furnace array over there, but of course recolored with the red and black to match the main stage and that imperial kind of theme. Okay, finally, done. That build took about 10 hours, which is pretty standard for a build of this size, and the perfected CLM works almost flawlessly. There's just a couple things that I want to change. First, I want to replace the soul sand with soul soil. Soul sand has this little dip in it when you step on it compared to the soil, which is just like a normal full block, which shouldn't really matter because I mean there's carpet on top of it, but the soil also just sounds nicer when you walk on it. So then I want to move the chests that are over there by the portal over here with the rest of them. I don't know why I split them up in the first place. It doesn't really make any sense. And then I also want to move these chests and barrels back by like 1 block, I think, to make the place about 1 block wider. And I also want to see exactly how long it takes to build this thing up from scratch. So I'm just going to tear the entire thing down and then rebuild it with these little changes. Okay, I've got all the materials sorted here. Now I just need to build it up as fast as I can. Okay, all done. That only took about 15 minutes, which is perfect. And yeah, these little changes make things look so much better on the inside. Now, all that's left to do is set up Shulker Box kits so I can easily build as many of these things as I want on demand. And oh boy, was this little part of the video that I thought was going to be very quick and straightforward quite the grind. I realized right away that I didn't have enough sea lanterns to make all the kits, so I headed to my Guardian farm to AFK for a few hours to get enough, which wasn't too bad. Then I went to the end dimension to farm up enough white concrete, which was easy enough as well. And then I realized I didn't have enough iron blocks for all the beacons for each kit. And I didn't want to just sit around waiting at my base for the iron farm to run, so I thought I might as well get to work on the rest of the walls, like the ones at the beginning of the video for the rest of the city. I started off by building up a beacon pylon themed with those Imperial colors and banners like I mentioned earlier, and I also downloaded this mod to go with it that lets you kind of cut off the render points of a beacon beam by using a glass block, so you don't just have an insane amount of beams just shooting into the sky, cluttering up like the entire skyline. And it makes these little Imperial beacon pylons look super cool. It's kind of like a magical battery that powers everything up in the surrounding area. Looks super clean. I'll post the schematics for these things along with the schematics for the 2 decorative buildings for the CLM on my Patreon, which if you join today gives you access to all my other schematics and the entire world download for my hardcore world. But don't worry, the CLM is for free on my Discord right now if all you want is that. Anyway, I littered these little beacon pylons all over the entire area, which yeah, slowed down the iron farming a little bit because I was using so much of it for these beacons right away. But I just let the iron farm run overnight and I was pretty much good to go the next morning. I also upgraded the storage to a shulker box loader, which just makes things a little bit more organized. After I got all the iron I would need, I headed to the end to run my wither killer, which I literally have never ran before building it like 6 months ago. I used all the wither skulls that I had in storage, and I wish I had ran this thing before because then I probably would not have done this. Oh shit, wait, he's not supposed to be down there. Let me move this. Oh my god. Ah! Bro. I'm a f***ing idiot. Yeah, I'm an idiot. But anyway, after that debacle, I got all my beacons crafted up. I've got way more than I'll ever need now. That's a lie. You can never have enough of these things. And I'll load up the rest of the kits with the remaining materials. Okay, finally done. That is 32 kits all packed up and ready to go whenever I need them. And I have these little block swappers attached up to this barrel here. So if I take out the kit, the light will turn off, letting me know that one's ready to go basically right here. Just a cool little extra detail. I also made one little adjustment to the CLM, adding some more categorized storage space up here, and also 2 ender chests because I just forgot to put these here. But that pretty much wraps up this little side quest. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Let me know if you're going to use this thing in your world. And remember, you can grab a schematic for it for free in my Discord, or you can just grab the entire world download off my Patreon. Anyway, with that, time to get back to Project Upgrade.